Well, it's really important that we keep up that fight because we see in the market costs going up by 175% if the Republicans don't address this health care crisis. We know that there have already been huge cuts in the One Big Beautiful Bill to people's access to health care. And you know, when we look at this crisis, so much of it is really imposed by Donald Trump. So there is money for him to put towards SNAP funding that he's refusing to do, even though courts are demanding it. Now he's kind of slow walking it, making it very difficult for states to do that illegally, and courts are holding him accountable. We see with air traffic control problems, some of this is because the administration hasn't moved quickly enough at Newark in some of the problems we had over the summer. So we're already down by 25%. Now with this crisis going on, because the president refuses to open up the government, we're seeing another 10% in flights being derailed. And we see continued late and delayed flights. So it's time that the Trump administration, that Republicans in the House and the Senate get serious about opening up government.
When we look at our recent polling, a majority of Americans are really concerned that this shutdown is going to hurt the overall economy. How can you justify the damage?
Well, it truly is hurting the economy, and you can't justify the damage, which is why the president and the Senate and Republican majority in the House need to get this government open, and they need to do so in a way that's going to stop punishing the American people. I think what we saw with this election is the American people are really demanding that our federal government operate in a way that is going to stop punishing them economically. I'll tell you, I ran on affordability, on the fact that I'm going to fight in Trenton to make sure we're cutting through red tape and permitting to drive down costs, but also that I'm going to continue to fight that for Washington to address things like the tariff program, which is raising costs on everything from a cup of coffee to groceries, to fight the One Big Beautiful Bill, which is continuing to raise costs on education and innovation, housing, healthcare, to continue to fight this government shutdown so that we can really address healthcare needs here in the state.
You keep saying it's up to the president to reopen the government, but you withheld your own vote on that continuing resolution, that short-term funding bill. And over in the Senate, Leader Thune is tearing into Democrats for that decision. He said it shows you're not caring that there are men and women in uniform frequenting food banks because of the shutdown, not making rent payments, trying to borrow. He said Dems view this as leverage, and he used that word because it was your House leadership. Catherine Clark justified withholding votes to end the shutdown, saying that's one of the few parts of leverage that Democrats have. How do you respond to this accusation that it's actually Democrats who are being heartless here?
Well, when you have the Republicans that have the presidency, they have the majority in the Senate, they have the majority in the House, they've even, many would say, including myself, taken over the court system, then they have a responsibility to open up this government. And I have to tell you,
Whip Clark
as a
who
veteran
said
myself,
those votes are
I know
leverage.
how devastating that is. We're leveraged to serve the American people. I mean, we see again and again these Republican attacks on everything from health care. Look, if they don't fund the Affordable Care Act, costs are going to go up by 175% for people here in New Jersey at already high levels. That is going to kick so many people off health care. That's on top of the huge Medicare cuts that we're seeing in the One Big Beautiful Bill, on top of the tariff costs that are raising grocery prices everywhere, on top of the fight he's in now, which is raising gas prices. So again and again, we're seeing the Trump administration punishing people, and these Republicans have got to come to the table, and they've got to start really working for the American people, and this election showed that.
But when you were talking about the extension of the health care subsidies, why isn't the promise to hold a vote on those health care subsidies enough for Democrats to vote to reopen the government?
So we are working hard to address the concerns for the American people. And the Republicans again and again are refusing to address that. So right now, this is part of how we get the government open, and they should do it right now. I think we have seen what the promises that Republicans have made have been worth. What he needs to do is actually put the subsidies in. We can serve the American people. We can drive down healthcare costs, and that's really key.